Okay. Okay. We're going to call this meeting to order, the Huntington County Plan Commission. We want to mention that the meeting is subject to Indiana Code 36-1-3. First item is roll call.
Todd Landrum.
Present.
Terry Miller.
Here.
Jim Sproul.
Here.
Steve Park.
Here.
Ed Ferris.
Here.
Jerry Meehan.
Present.
Don Freiberger.
Here.
Terry Stoffel.
Here.
Bob Bolin.
Yep. Okay. So we'll go to consideration. First off, is there a conflict of interest for any of the docket items here this evening? Hearing none, we'll go to consideration of minutes from April the 8th, 2026. Everybody have a chance to look at the minutes?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So we'll go ahead then to, there's no new business. Go then to comments from commission members. This is commission discussion for future data center, BESS, which is battery storage, carbon sequestration ordinance. After discussion and a consensus is reached, the PC members will provide guidance to Tice Miller when drafting the future ordinance. Okay, so we're going to start with discussion here among commission members. We do have some people that we have asked to come and share as to share their input. So we want to ask those people to speak initially. Kim, did you want to share some comments too before we get started?
No.
Okay. So I think we have Andy Zay here. Andy, would you like to step up and I guess, do you want to start speaking to the microphone so everybody can hear you? And,
I can do it however you'd like. Do it from here or there.
okay, can everybody hear Andy?
Hi, I'm Andy Zay, hometown guy. Great to be back with all of you tonight. I am a commissioner for the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. I was asked here tonight to speak a little bit about my experience and background, what I've had the opportunity in learning as a commissioner. The presentation I have, I think somebody saw or was picked up in the media, which is why I was asked to be here tonight. I do need to clarify that what I'm sharing is data that I have exerted from the commission, but these are not necessarily opinions of the commission. These are my opinions, my comments tonight. And I will clarify, because the Journal-Gazette picked up off of my comments at the Northeast Indiana Regional Partnership that I was pro-data center. And as a commissioner, I am not of the capacity to be...
Sorry, can you hold for a second? There's sound issues on the first floor. He's going to go fix it.
Okay,
So we're just going to hold on tight for a second. Sorry about that.
no problem.
Andy, when we start, we're going to have you start over, okay? Because I guess it's been on for about a minute.
That's fine. Give me a sign in.
No, that's, I don't know, it's up to you.
Oh, you're giving that to her.
I'm just helping Kim out.
Thank
Okay.
you.
She needs it.
Thank you.
Do we need test? Test, test.
Yoakum, can you hear us? No? Okay. Okay.
No? All right. We're going to start from the top because I understand some people couldn't hear. So I am Andy Zay. I'm a commissioner at the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. I was asked to be here tonight to share with you a presentation that I gave a few weeks ago at the Northeast Indiana Regional Partnership in Fort Wayne that was picked up by the media. And for clarification, the opinions of my presentation are mine alone. Some of the data is data that I have got through my experience as being a member of the commission and my experiences with conferences, having visited a data center in Loudoun, Virginia, a Google data center there, spending hours with Microsoft, hours with Google, as well as our interest really at the Regulatory Commission, which is how we are going to power these data centers. So some of this really deals with more the operations or who we are as a regulatory commission. I'm going to blow through that and get to a couple pertinent factual data points that I think are relatively interesting. And I guess how I might preface this presentation for everybody here tonight and everybody watching online is I would consider this kind of a status of where we're at and potentially where we are going, not only in Indiana but in our country in regards to electricity, data, and even how we're powering the grid now. So the commission is an administrative agency that hears evidence in cases filed before it, and on those cases we are a non-binding body that was formed in the late 1800s, has been since retitled lastly in 1987 as the IURC. We regulate and oversee electric, natural gas, steam, water, wastewater, and communications. We weigh in on those cases and regarding rates and charges, financing, bonding, environmental compliance, service territories, customers, service, conditions and service, ensuring safe and reliable service and adequate resources. The key 5 pillars, which we are one of few, I'm sorry, if you could advance those. You can skip through the first 4 or 5. That was just kind of some background on the IURC. Keep going. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. The background of the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission is all viewed through these 5 pillars of reliability, affordability, resiliency, stability, and environmental sustainability. These were adopted in the Indiana Code just a few years ago, and we are one of the few states in the United States of America that has adopted these 5 pillars into statute. And it really drives everything that we do at the IURC as far as cases and making the decisions on those. Next slide, please. You can skip ahead. Those are just a bunch of ugly guys in the commission. Skip ahead. Those are some data points from last year, which I won't weigh in. I don't think that's pertinent necessarily for the meeting tonight. Next slide, please. The background, we are a traditionally regulated state with vertically integrated utilities with exclusive retail service territories. So they are considered natural monopolies, and by these these are regulated monopolies. And our role as the IURC is to balance the success of the utility with the affordability of the ratepayer. And we are, that is really our charge along with the 5 pillars. Next slide, please. We'll go to the next one. That's a fuel generation mix. So this is a little indication of where we are at in the state of Indiana about how we generate electricity. And what you can see over the last 10 years, our coal production as far as generating electricity has gone from 68% down to 39%. Natural gas has gone from about 14 up to 34. Nuclear's been fairly steady with about a 3% increase. We've seen wind nearly double in the last 10 years, and solar going from basically non-existent to now 1.8%. Next slide, please. This is a very, very important slide. What you see with this slide really goes back historically to the last demand cycle for electricity in the United States of America. And that's when we brought appliances and air conditioning into our home through the 50s and 60s. You can see that the energy use growth was 8.5% through the decade of the 50s and 7.4% with air conditioning through the 60s. And I want you to take a real close note of that, because that is when we built a lot of our generation now. So a lot of our coal plants, our historical plants, were built in the 50s and 60s. And in Indiana, it was a great opportunity for us because we were literally taking coal out of the ground and putting it into generation. So for many years, we were one of the most affordable places in the country in regards to electricity. Now, as you see, the demand has gone down and leveled off. Since 2000, we've barely even increased demand 2%. So now in the last year and a half, you're looking at data center and other advanced manufacturing growth. In just 5 years, we're projected to do 5.7%, and I would say that's low. So in this next 10-year cycle, you're going to see a demand for energy like we've never had at any point in history in the United States of America. And what is exciting is the utilities are doing a great job of both upgrading existing generation as well as developing new generation. But an important note on this is, without economic development and growth, the rehabilitation, the replacement of these historical generation, transmission, and distribution systems would fall squarely on the ratepayer. So the key with the current investment in our state and in our country is that we have partners that are enabling us to build new generation, build out transmission, and build out distribution. Next slide, please. Just to give you a scope of what economists, what people in the industry are projecting. FERC is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, so they're kind of the IURC of our country. They oversee all the utilities and all the regulation for the United States of America. And this is a very interesting slide. When you look at a perspective of those that are in the industry and report to FERC, what they forecasted the growth would be in 2030. So in the year 2022, they projected growth of about 24 gigawatts across the country. The next year, it was up to 38 gigawatts. In 2024, it was 64 gigawatts. And just last year, the forecasters and those that report to FERC anticipate 166 gigawatts of electricity. So the demand and growth is happening. It's happening in our country right now. To a large degree, it's happening right here in Indiana. And, it's something we need to decide as a state, as communities, where we're going to participate, whether we're going to participate, and what role we're going to play in the future of our country, our economy, in relationship to electricity and technology. These are the...
What's a gigawatt? I mean, what's that?
1,000 megawatts.
1,000 megawatts.
Well, for perspective on
Not
here,
everything to me either.
right. Well, 166 gigawatts is 15 New York cities added to the grid in the next 5 years.
That makes sense, okay.
And I&M, as an example, which powers most of northern Indiana, is a part of the PJM regional transmission operation. They provide about 4 to 5 gig of power to meet all the demands across northern Indiana. In the next 5 to 8 years, they'll be providing somewhere between 10 and 12. And as a state, we're somewhere between 17 to 20 gigawatts to power our whole state. That's our homes, that's our commercial, that's our industrial. By the year 2030, 2035, we'll be somewhere north of 40 gigawatts across the state.
Okay. Thank you.
Next slide, please. So what's driving this growth? Obviously, what you folks are talking about tonight and what many of you folks are here to visit about tonight are data centers. That's driving about 55% of the growth. Where you're seeing, which is about 90 gigawatts. What you're seeing on the other side of the pie here, industrial manufacturing is driving about 20%. And I would say that's increasing with the current administration's goal of repatriating our manufacturing and bringing it back to the United States of America, which in Indiana, we are the leader in making things and manufacturing. A lot of that is coming right back here to Indiana. And then you see other, which might be residential, commercial of about 20%, and then oil, gas, and mining of about 5%. So the growth is largely surrounding data centers, but you're also seeing it in many other sectors. And I would argue that there's interplay. What you're seeing with industrial manufacturing coming back is also driving that demand out of the data centers, because when they're bringing that back, they're going to be using the cloud space, the AI, and all that to increase their productivity in their advanced manufacturing. I do have a short video. I won't bother you with that. It's a pretty good video. But with that, again, my intent is to share with you some data of kind of where our country, where our state is at right now. This world we're living in is changing. And I believe we're living through what I'm calling a technological revolution. And in the next 10 to 15 years, we'll look back on this time, and it'll be largely different than it was at any time in our history. And I am pro Huntington. And the thing that scares me about rural Indiana, having served my entire life here as a businessman, is where are we going to be in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years? And, you know, I just see the stuff of, as far as generating electricity and data is our future. Our kids are demanding it. We're demanding it. I carry 2 cell phones now. I've got a laptop. You stream movies, online banking. Amazon's at our door every other day of the week. So these are the realities. I got a sheet of 200 different things that we think are commonplace that are all a part of driving this demand for data and technology. And so what I've heard, what I've seen, what I've experienced, I've worked with Mayor Tom Dermody in LaPorte, Indiana, who just signed on Microsoft, and they just broke ground for that last week. It's going to transform the city of LaPorte. I've never seen economic development done like this in my life. I fought the CEDAT tax here in Huntington County many moons ago. It's become a part of who we are. And the way that commissioners and others, the mayors, have used it over the years is to entice people to come to our community and do their business, make their things, generally manufacturing. With a lot of these tech companies, they're coming in with the checkbooks open. There are no tax abatements on hardly, I don't think, on any of the tech companies that are coming into our state. And they are investing on day one and taking care of a lot of community needs in relationship to education, quality of life, and even in some communities throughout the country, they're using those revenues as offsets to lower property taxes and the things that all of us are trying to take care of as well. So I've had the opportunity to meet with Microsoft for hours and Google for hours. These were some of the, for better or worse, the original environmentalists as far as companies go in our country. And I think a lot of the environmental concerns that I've seen online and elsewhere, they are as cognizant and aware of that, or more so than we are. And they want to fix those things. They want to make those things better. And even in relationship to the LaPorte example I shared, I asked the mayor how much water he's going to be providing to the data center, and he said 0. They are using a closed loop, low-grade antifreeze to do the cooling for all the hard drives in there. And that's Microsoft's plan. I don't know that the others are using those same systems. Some are using closed-loop systems, so they are using some water. But I think what that tells me, as someone who's working in this space every single day now, the things that we don't like, they are working on every day. And they are working at making it the water situation better, the noise situation better, the energy situation better. And there's going to continue to be innovation in this space every day and every year as we go on. And I think I just think it's a great opportunity for some of our rural communities and local communities to tap into what will likely be in some form or fashion. I don't know what it is. The next generation and what I'm calling and what's been called the technological revolution. I don't know if it's appropriate, but I'd be happy to entertain a few questions.
Anybody from the board have anything to follow up with Andy about? Stick with the board right now. So.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay, Bob, go ahead.
Andy, yeah. So Andy, I mean, I haven't really done any massive, extensive research, but I just popped into basically just Google, and what I asked Google is, did Google data centers in Indiana get tax abatements? And just so you know, actually, it comes right up, and I encourage everybody in this building to do the same thing. And yes, Google data centers in Indiana have secured massive tax abatements and exceptions. The Indiana Economic Development Corporation, the IEDC, committed to an extensive extensive 35-year state sales and use tax exemption on eligible equipment and energy for Google's $2 billion data center in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So, for what that's worth, I just want you to know when you come up and you say that, you know, you've met with these Google guys and you've met with Laporte and there's no tax abatement, I want to let you know that all of that is inaccurate. But that's it. That's all I got to say.
Well, just to respond to that, there is IEDC grants and IEDC support that is obviously driving some of this growth in Indiana, but I have not heard at any local level where the locals have offered tax abatements or any incentives to bring the utilities or bring the technology companies to their community. Yes, there is state money
Gotcha.
being spent through the IEDC.
Andy, I have a question.
I knew when you came to educate us, you didn't bring any of that up. Know what I mean?
What's that?
You just said there was no, well, when you were speaking, you said there was no tax abatements, and that just wasn't accurate.
Well, I got in trouble with somebody on crossing over into the economic development world recently.
Yeah, I know.
I think everybody does.
Mhm. Yep.
Would it be a true statement that if this county were to turn down a facility like that, but it would go next door, that you would still be taxing, the power needed would still be off the same grid? Would that be a true statement?
I can't say that right now. There's a lot of creativity going on in the generation of power. A lot of that is now being done through the investor-owned utilities where they're, again, either upgrading their facilities or building new or importing it through the regional transmission operations, MISO or PJM, and particularly in the immediacy because the demand for power is coming like they want the power yesterday. And you just can't build $1 billion power plant in 2 years or 3 years. And actually that's becoming a supply problem of getting the actual components to build out some of the generation that's needed in the future. There are different locations, yes, that are better suited, closer to the high transmission lines and intergeneration. And also what you're hearing nationally, what I'm hearing at conferences is there's a movement for the tech companies to create and bring in their own generation. And I look at that kind of twofold, particularly being a commissioner at the IURC. One is that's fine, but if they hook one line to the grid, they need to fall under our jurisdiction when we're regulating them. Because there's two things there's two problems you can really have in electricity. And one is what you have just in time, which is where we're trying to meet that demand every day with our investor-owned utilities. And right now you have high demand. We need more, we need more. But if they would find a way to go efficient from like maybe needing a gig now to feed one of those facilities to 300 or 400 megawatts, over-generation and oversupply of electricity can also be cost prohibitive, where we would have stranded assets that we've invested millions and billions of dollars in not operating to provide that. And that's where if they tie to the grid, if they take that risk all on themselves and generate to feed that, that's great. But as soon as they tie onto the grid in any way, I believe they need to be regulated because we're the balancing act. They want the power. But at the IURC, we make sure that we're trying to hit the power just right and, again, matching that ratepayer affordability.
Andy, in your discussions with Microsoft and Google, has the subject of public relations come up? It seems that they've done a poor job of being a good neighbor to many of the existing data centers. 75% of the people in the United States have a negative opinion of data centers, and I don't know if they've done anything to change that opinion. What about trying to be a good neighbor and going out and talking to people about these things? The constant whining that has been present in some communities, the water that has been contaminated and the water pressure diminished, as well as the construction throughout the whole plan, seems excessive. It doesn't seem like a good neighbor aspect to me, but has anyone discussed that in your discussions?
Not to some of the specificity that you mentioned, but what I have challenged them with, what I have challenged some of my colleagues with, what I have challenged the governor with, what I have challenged the utility, the Indiana Electric Association with, is we have to do this. We have to go out and educate people and talk to people and let them know about what's going on and how these things are working. And yes, the same thing with the tech companies. I think that has been their weakness. And I've challenged them to go out to Rotary clubs, Lion clubs, meetings, councils all across our state and talk. Don't make the first time when you're asking for a permit or asking to do something. We've got to get out and tell that story now. And that's really what I've tried to do the last many months is just have an open dialogue about these things and the why, because a lot of this tech thing, this tech development, there seems to be an aura that it's speculative. The reality is the demand is there, and that's why they're building so many of these. When they get these built, all the demand for that data is eaten up on day one. And a lot of that's personal, and the other is blocks of business buying out blocks of that data center that's hosting that cloud for banking, for government operations, for military operations, and those different kinds of things. And that's what federal leadership will tell you. We can't be storing that kind of data in China or even up north in Canada. We've got to host this stuff, and we've got to keep it here for national security and our own benefit. And yes, simply put, they need to do a much better job on public relations, and I would say that broadly. And they're very attuned to the things you suggested, and there are things that they are constantly trying to improve on and do better, even as they invest in communities.
Are all the data centers used for business data, or is some used for personal data to get your social security number and your purchases and things like that?
Whatever you use your phone or computer for. It is the cloud as we know it. The one that I went to in Loudoun, Virginia, 80–90% of that was what's formerly the cloud. And that hosts our pictures on our phone, because those aren't all hosted on our phone. It hosts the 10,000 emails we haven't got deleted over the last 4 or 5 years. It hosts any files that we're keeping that we didn't get deleted from my business that I've run for the last 30 years. It hosts all that stuff. And so that takes up a good portion of it, because then we're only piling on now because we're accessing our banking on our phones and all that. It takes support infrastructure besides our individual transactions. Just the shopping on Facebook Marketplace, on Amazon, those kinds of things, it demands all that. And then in Loudoun, I can't remember the percentage, don't hold me to this, but 10 or 20% of the data center then was AI driven. And the AI is a learning technology where it's constantly in flux, learning how to do things better. And where I've seen that myself at the commission is through Adobe. It gives me summary of our evidence that's presented on cases. I've heard that a lot in the legal and law community, where it helps find historical cases, which everything in law is done on precedent and what's happened in the past. And I think you're going to see different applications of it throughout all kinds of business. The exciting thing that I hope works out, it allows small businesses to compete at a broader scale through using some of that. And, we'll have to see what the future holds and exactly how that plays out.
Currently in the United States, we have 4,400 data centers. Our nearest state competitor or country is UK with 499. Germany is 487. China has 300. And Indiana has 123 in our state.
Right.
I'm wondering how much of this is redundant capacity in our country as well as in the state.
Well, I say two things. One thing you would say on the federal level is that's the empirical dominance that the United States wants to hold, is to be able to make sure we can host all our data and innovation going forward. Because there's really no containing that and controlling that, depending on how much we use our phones and how much we use it on our personal computers. And second of all, it's operating in a competitive environment. And I don't know that. I don't know, one tech company competing with another and their cloud services and the other services that they're offering. But there might be some redundancy. There might be a little bit of overbuild in that. I'm not certain. But, in a communist country, they can control and have one person and meet to that demand. What we do know, aside from data centers, is we do know that China is building out electricity like crazy. And they're doing it in all fashions, in coal, solar, gas, really all the different ways. And so whether they have that many today, they could triple that overnight if they see that capacity. But yeah, I mean, I would probably not be the right person to get into too much specificity on that. But that's some general thoughts.
Okay, anybody else, the board, have a question for Andy? Okay. Do you want to open, for another person, anybody that asked to be here to speak on behalf from the board? Is there anybody else to speak? Kim, were you aware of anybody else?
Philip Goodrich is not going to be here. He had a family emergency.
Okay,
So Andy did not bring anyone else with him.
No, I was going to have a Google representative with me and the Mayor Laporte, but that didn't work out on their schedules. So, well, thank you very much for having me. I hope I've added some value to the conversation.
yes,
Again,
thank you.
with my position, I can't say that I am for or against. Where we basically are engaged with this is what we're seeing in the generation requests that come before the Regulatory Commission, and we're approving those build-outs. And I should comment before I close that what has been a policy of the federal administration, we are adhering to strictly at the Regulatory Commission too, and that is that they are meeting the investment of any increase in generation, transmission, or distribution, every data center that's come to our state. And in most cases, they're over-investing in that, which is, I think, what we've seen in the media a little bit, which will drive down some ratepayer cost. So thank you very much all for your time.
Okay. Okay, we'll open this up for discussion for the board to start with. I just wanted to, is there anybody that would like to speak before, as we look at these options presented for us?
Kim, can we go through those options just so everybody knows what they are, what's been?
Yeah, Ed, if you want to read them in, I mean, all the board members should be aware of these
I think
four
the public
options.
has seen them too,
Yeah,
is
the
that
public has
correct?
seen them,
The
so-
public has seen them. So we've got 4 different options that have been presented to us after discussions with legal counsel. So do we want to read through just a summary of each one? Or read all the details? Okay, we'll start with number 1 is make a data center a permitted in one or more existing zoning districts such as the M2 district. In this situation, we expect a new subsection of the UDO that provided use-specific standards for a data center. Standards would be simple, such as setback requirements, or complicated, such as the water study that demonstrates adequate supply and impact for surrounding water supplies and aquifers. The standard development plan process would apply, and that means, Kim, what that means is standard meetings with development plan would discuss this and everything, so there's a separate subcommittee.
Development plan would be required with all 4 options.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. So, number 2 option is create a new zoning district. For example, the Advanced Technology District, which would include its own set of permitted uses distinct from other existing districts. One of the permitted uses would be a data center, and a data center would be not permitted in any other existing district. The major difference between this option and option 1 is that as a new district, any developer of a proposed data center would have to go through a rezoning process as opposed to perhaps using the property that is already zoned M2. In example 1, I gave for option 1. This means that the commissioners would have to say and would have maximum discretion to deny a requested rezone because it is a legislative act. So, as with option 1, expect a new subsection for the United Development Ordinance that provides specific standards for data center. And again, the development plan meetings would still continue. So item number 3, this option is really taking either option number one, number two, and adding the additional step of requiring a special exception from the Board of Zoning Appeals. This is, again, for the separate group that meets partially some of the Plan Commission members and some is other appointed by the commissioners. Using option two, this would require the creation of a new zoning district again. So let's call this an Advanced Technology District or an AT District. The AT District would allow a data center as a special exception. Now the developer would first have to rezone the new AT District. Then if that worked, the developer would have to get a special exception from the Board of Zoning Appeals after an additional public hearing before this particular body. Okay, the number four option is to twist off option two that some jurisdictions have done with the intent to allow data centers, but only on property that has already been identified, regardless of that property's current zoning. Often this is an existing industrial park, but does not have to be that. In this option, the overlay district is created and includes the property or geographical area which the overlay district applies. The overlay district would be the only district in which data center is allowed and would override the underlying zoning provisions. The overlay district would also contain specific standards for a data center, both development standards and the operation standards. The standard development plan process would also apply. So we'd have a separate committee with that development plan that meets typically once a month. So just like this board, it's a subcommittee of the Plan Commission. So in each of these options, specific standards of data center would be created, which is where the real detail would be inserted. So the standards would include the issues such as setbacks, noise limits, demonstration of water availability, demonstration of adequate electricity, air pollution, restrictions, height limits, landscaping and buffer requirements, and any other standards the county might want.
We also need to work on a definition of a data center.
We're getting that, added
Okay.
to our UDO for our
Okay.
UDO update.
I just know that's part of what you recommended.
Who's doing that?
Oh, I'm
Kim?
sorry, if you can talk closer to the microphone, that would be helpful.
Pull the microphone to you or something.
Yeah, pull it to you if you actually can. I've been bad about that too.
Who's doing that, Kim?
What's that?
Who's the?
Our zoning expert who is redoing our UDO. She's updating our UDO. It's, Deborah Luzier.
Should they be addressing also the scale? Because there's smaller data centers and hyper-scale centers. So I think the scale of the centers need to be identified, that the standards would be different for each of those levels if they were to do.
There was also some discussion about server rooms, and I haven't heard any exact definition of a server room. What I've read online is that it is a smaller version of a data center, and every data center has a server room to kind of organize that center. So I know there was some person that spoke up or on one of our emails that was concerned that data server rooms would be thrown in the same classification as data centers, so.
Okay, anybody on the board have some thoughts on which of these options would be preferable?
I guess I have one question before we get to that point, and it's probably more to Kim and the Commissioner. Looking back through the current zoning ordinance or zoning maps, you know, we've got Huntington and Markle and Warren and so forth. Looking at those, there seems to be very little M zone property and I zone property, and with, I think with the recommendations here of the four, it was kind of leaning toward the M occupancy or zoning. any event, I guess is what I'm getting at, is in any of the areas currently, there does not appear to be significant areas to allow that. So they would have to be additional zone property to accommodate that growth. Is that correct?
What's your question again? Is
Oh,
there,
It just doesn't appear right now, with our current maps, that there's much M and much I.
right, we don't have
zone.
any Is in our district in the county industrial. We just have the manufacturing and business.
Okay, and most of those that I've seen anyway, seem like there's businesses on them.
I would say I would agree with you, yeah.
There's not a lot of open lane for that.
Right.
So anything that occurs is going to have to be rezoned into that capacity.
Right,
And,
or the advanced technology district.
you know, and to me, from a planning standpoint, from county standpoint, it seems that that is always one of our big issues that we have with the public, and is that all of a sudden the big center's coming in and it's taking agricultural land and rezoning it into another use. It seems like it'd be more proactive to develop an area ahead of the game, you know, that would be used for manufacturing, as opposed to waiting until afterwards and then somebody wants to come and put it in the middle of nowhere.
Any other thoughts from the board members? Bob, do you have anything to share from your perspective? Okay, shaking his head no. I see him on line there, so.
No, sir.
Okay, anything from the board's perspective, an advantage that you can see for any one of the options that looks like we maybe want to consider? You mentioned, Kim, the Advanced Technology District is the one option.
Option number 2.
Yeah. So what does everybody think about a new, calling this a new?
I think that there's some value in trying to utilize as much M zoning as we can. We've got empty buildings and, empty areas, and I don't know if we're at the point where we need to designate an AT zone somewhere, maybe convert some of your M. Is that what you're talking about?
Right, I don't think he means that you would designate an area, like call out an area and rezone it to AT. It would be if somebody sees a property they're interested in, they would request the rezoning.
But to build a data center under that option, it would have to be zoned AT.
Right.
Even
And
if
then
it was
would either be an
manufacturing,
allowed use
they
or
would get it
require-
changed to AT. And then nothing could ever be on that property but data center?
Okay. Okay. I guess we all need to speak more into the microphone.
Okay.
Say that again, Jim, I didn't hear something.
Okay, so you convert, a parcel to AT or whatever, then that's all that can be there is a data center
Right.
forever.
I mean, that would be for advanced technology type of uses, and it would either be a permitted use or it would require a special exception as with option 3.
Yeah, I just think there's some value in just being able to utilize manufacturing that's, sitting there, because it could be converted to manufacturing. I guess if I had to pick one, I would probably lean towards one, if that's what you're asking.
I concur with 1.
At least to start the discussion and figure it out.
Right, thank you. That's.
Yeah,
what
we're
we
not
want.
making a,
Right. Start the discussion is important.
Yeah, and that goes back to my point, the M category of being available currently, and in areas that I was looking at, if it has the ability to expand in that current location. Or, because I think, again, where the problem will start to come into, if an area is working to be industrial or manufacturing is one thing, but then you take that and plop it in the middle of another classification, that's where everybody comes up in arms. And it also puts the planning on the burden of the person coming in, as opposed to us being proactive planning for that center. So that's why I kind of like the one also for under the M's.
Okay, I'm hearing some about number one option. Anybody else have thoughts on which option looks preferable?
I think they all could work, it's just how we fill in the details, put some meat on the bone. So any of these four options would work. I think one might give us more flexibility in that, but I would not be opposed to any of the others.
I agree with that. You want to get comments from the public yet? Do you want to get comment from the public yet?
Is there, okay, go ahead,
I
Steve,
guess
I'm sorry.
one
Steve's
other-
got another point here.
One other comment, I guess, with any of these options, this is just the beginning of that conversation, in that, as mentioned, it's going to have to develop the entire standard that we go into a lot more detail and specificity, to that facility. And because I think there's some unique situations, that have to be considered, and there's a big construction impact on the hyperscale centers that needs to be considered. There's temporary structures, for those centers when they're coming in, potentially would have to be addressed, as well as the things that already have been talked about, the electricity and the closed loop water system requirements and that type of thing. But I think there's bigger issues outside of just the data center, as far as getting it to the site and actually live through that. Let's see, there was something else. So yeah, I guess that was my main point. So that this is just the starting point of any kind of ordinance or process.
Okay. Anybody else on the board want to follow up Steve's comments, or? Okay, so we'll, at this point, Kim, I guess, let's just clarify, this is not a public hearing.
Correct.
And I just want to make sure people understand that this is not per se a public hearing where we don't have,
There's not a formal vote. We are
There's-
just reaching a consensus
we're
tonight.
reaching a consensus.
It is a public hearing.
It's a public meeting, not
It's a public meeting,
not a public hearing.
not,
Right.
we're not a public hearing. It's
Right.
a public meeting, so the public
Right, if there was a
has an
specific
opportunity to
request, we would
talk.
have advertised as a public hearing, so.
Right, we would have to advertise a specific public hearing, so I want to clarify that with everybody tonight here in attendance, because we're building, as a board, this is what we're doing, we're letting the board speak, and then we will open this up. Everybody okay to open this up for public comment?
My only question, Ed, is do you want to talk about the other two issues and then open it to the public, or you want to open it? We still got to talk about the batteries and the carbon sequestration.
So, yes, that's true, there are two other issues, and I think most of the,
Maybe that's all they want to talk about, those data centers, so that's fine if they want to talk now. Let's do it that way. Let them talk now. We're going to talk about
Yeah,
the
then you'll hear all the comments, and then you
Yeah.
proceed accordingly with your discussion.
right. I mean, and people can share, I mean, it doesn't, if they want to share what, specific to the other two, they can.
Yep,
We haven't had that discussion for the battery storage and the carbon sequestration, but I just want to clarify that, yeah, people do want to discuss that. We typically allow 3 minutes for people to speak. And I wanted to ask the board, is that, oh, everybody okay with that for public time? We just ask that if there's something that's already been said, not to be redundant, we want to hear from the public, but we do want to remember this is, and when you speak, remember that this is not a game where we're going to cheer and boo if you like something or you don't like something. That's not the point of tonight. Tonight is to allow everybody to speak. We show respect for the public, and if you're here and you want to speak. So, Kim, do you have a list of names? You want to read them off? And if you would come up to and state your name and your address, please. And then also, again, keep it to the point that's specific to what our discussion is tonight, if you could, because that's what we want to hear from the public and what the whole point of this meeting is. So.
Yes, and feel free to hold the microphone as close to you as possible so everyone can hear you. My first name on the list is Charles Chapman.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for letting me speak. And
Could you state your address too, Charlie?
Okay. My name is Charles Chapman. I live at 38 Stone Ridge in Huntington, Indiana. I will say that after listening to Commissioner Zay, I hope you all join me by going home tonight and dumping a lot of emails and photos so we can free up the cloud. I was going to speak to carbon capture and storage and battery systems, but I think the topic tonight appears to be data centers. Data centers have been around for decades, and they're growing. Why are they growing? It's called the free market. Demand for personal and business cloud storage is growing. Online platforms like Facebook, Instagram, X, along with streaming services, smartphones, emails, are but a few reasons why the demand for data centers is increasing. Why do we need to single out these projects? Why don't we treat them like other large industrial projects? When questions and challenges are raised, I think we should look at the concerns and problem solve. Where's our faith in American ingenuity? Good governance requires compromise and cooperation. I like that approach. When the government steps in and regulates business, we suffer. When President Biden changed the rules to restrict coal and oil, we paid for it. I was disappointed by Biden's overregulation. I'm equally concerned when local government does the same. The only practical way forward is to address our concerns individually and adjust accordingly. Finally, looking at data centers from a national security standpoint, American leadership says AI is something the United States must not forfeit. AI cannot grow without data centers and increased processing power. We need to focus on our faith in American ingenuity. With the compromise and cooperation, I'm optimistic that we can work it out. I urge the Plan Commission to carefully gather the facts, work toward a plan that benefits our community without over-regulating business and turning away future economic development. For me, the American way is not saying no, it's saying, hey, let's talk about it and work out a way forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Kim, who's next?
David McDonald.
Hello, my name is David McDonald. I live at 1229 Lucas Court. I have a few questions for Andy. You say Loudoun, Virginia? There's not a city or town called Loudoun, Virginia. It's actually Loudoun County. It's 33 miles away from where I was born in DC. I bought my car next to a data center. There's 471 data centers in Loudoun County. You said you talked to Google, Microsoft. Did you talk to my family who live there? The family I won't even visit because they can't even walk down the street without the noise, without seeing birds for 20 miles? Did you visit them? Or did you just go visit the people who are gonna give us money? And not us, you guys, the tax money, where they get a huge tax abatement. Any data center that comes into Indiana that has 750 million or less gets a 25-year tax abatement on power. That you just raised our power bill by 70 million for the state. Anything over 750 million, they get 50 years. I will be dead, and they will still have a tax break on sales tax and power usage tax. Also, the other question is Terry Miller should be reclused from this. By Indiana code, anybody who is biased on this panel should be removed. He has been stated, and there is many witnesses here who will gladly state he is pro-data center, and there are screenshots of it on Facebook. That is not allowed. I fought for this country. I spent 9 months in a VA hospital giving my life and blood to this country. I left the East Coast because the data centers killed the farms. I saw the town that I grew up in, Germantown, Maryland. It was 8,000 people when I moved there out of DC when I was 10 years old. It moved to 8,000 to 90,000 in 5 years. You can Google it. We went from thousands of acres of farmland. You know how many farmlands are in Germantown, Maryland now? 0. What we need to do, we the people, we need to protect our damn farmland. You guys don't know what we're gonna do. Yes, we have too many farmlands right now, but I don't care what we have now. It's the next generation that matters. I didn't fight. My family hasn't fought in every major war, revolution, joining the SARS right now. My family's fought every single battle in America. My family, my forefathers didn't do this. We need to protect our land. We need to protect our children. And seriously, you guys should remove Terry Miller, recluse him from anything data center. If I find anything else on any of you, I will gladly call you guys out too. Because this is supposed to be unbiased. The only people biased in here should be us. We the people. Have a good day. Stan.
Thank you for your comments. Okay,
No,
no
no.
applause, no applause, no applause. Let's keep things, we respect everybody's opinion here. That means that we show the same respect for everybody. Okay, Kim?
George Beknitsky.
Last time I had 4, and I had to beg for Well, if I don't finish, you guys are gonna have.
Can you pull the mic up closer to you?
Okay, if I don't
State your
finish-
address too, so,
We're gonna have to the law. Drag me away, okay?
okay.
George Beknitsky, 2616 East, 950 North Roanoke. I'm a retired architect.
Could you shut that door, please?
Close the door, please.
Yes, you have an audience.
I'm a retired architect who's designed tens of millions of square feet and significant advanced manufacturing facilities throughout the U.S. and Europe that in the end employed hundreds of thousands of people that actually produce things. And that was the way economic development worked. There are studies that point to negative consequences of having such facilities, and I'm talking about the big 3, data, BSS, and carbon. Having such facilities in one's locale is not the best thing. There are others that scream that we have to blindly jump on this bandwagon, especially in Huntington County, because the internet will collapse and we will never have Netflix ever again. The easiest thing to do is an outright ban. You have 4 items there. I'd like to add 2 more. One is an outright ban on data centers and the carbon sequestering, the BES, I think that can be handled. They have no place in rural America. Data centers should be located in the proximity of the major users. We have, what, 40,000 people in Huntington? We are not a major user, okay? But we're carrying the burden
of the U.S. and the world by having resources dragged away from us to create these. Urban locations, brownfields might be ideal, but that's...
George, can I interrupt you for just a second? Can you hold the microphone? I guess they're not hearing downstairs. We're just gonna ask everybody that talks, you can lift it up if you can, yeah. Try to hold it as close as you can.
I think that's...
For them
I think
downstairs.
Elvis used to do this.
Yeah, we'll give you some more time.
Okay. Anyway, if I lost my place here.
Sorry.
One of the things that Mr. Zay said is that companies are improving their water usage, sound level, pollution control, and other environmental issues. What you're actually saying is they suck and they're trying to work it better. So why not wait until those things are worked out before we bring that here? So I think if this committee, the first part of your ordinance thing should say, this ordinance starts in 5 years. That will give time for the data centers to work out their bugs. That will give people an opportunity to get feedback of what's actually happening around data centers, both water, environmental, and all the other issues. Make sure that these facilities are vetted. Right now, there's just too much hearsay, both negative and positive, about data centers. Having worked through the solar ordinance, trying to make the process as transparent as possible, I was frustratingly met with pushbacks from others involved. The final ordinance ignored the majority of suggestions that we made. The majority was not made public. It was a disappointing endeavor. It hurt. When I was on the Building Code Commission to rewrite the rehabilitation code for the state of Indiana, those commission meetings were held in public. People were able to see who was for what and what was being said, not in the back door, and how the priorities of the language was crafted. That is what I wanted to see in the solar committee, and that's what I'd like to see in this ordinance for these types of facilities. The public needs to have a voice in what is being shoved down our throats. More than five, I had 5 minutes on my notes, more than 3 minutes at a time. That is ridiculous. Needs to happen at the beginning of the process. I don't think the public needs to be heard all the way through it, but at the beginning they need to be heard, and then they need to see how you develop it. To see how the Plan Commission and their attorneys work through the detailed language to make the ordinance come to fruition, but under the eyes of the people that it will affect. Just one thing, I drove through to the Google facility this morning to go to have lunch at Ziffel's, and Maple Crest Road is a complete disaster. It is.
Get to the mic here so I can hear you.
Okay, Maple Crest Road is a complete disaster. The construction traffic that has developed over there, and I'm not sure that anybody's even addressed this, that whole thing needs to be redone. If that's what the construction process and the end result for a data center, we do not want that in our county. I had other things, but my time's up, and I will. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Kim?
Stephen Getters.
Stephen Getters, 33 Stone Ridge Drive here in Huntington. The thing that I miss the most about Huntington, and I think most of us would agree, is that, and the thing that we miss the most is Mike Perkins and his great crew at the Huntington Herald Press. I read that every day, didn't miss it, and always kept us up to date on what was going on in the community. We knew what to expect. We had a heads up on it. But quite frankly, I did not know about this until about a week ago, and as many of us here. So I'm just wondering if it's possible for someone on the board or the board in general to address, maybe give us a little bit of history, how far back this goes, what has been done to this point, and then where we go from here. Because as Andy said, it's all about communication. So if we kind of know where we've been, where we are, and then where we plan, what timetable, what can we expect going forward? That's all I really have to say. I do hope that you'll address that issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kim, who's next?
Darwin Gardy.
Darwin Gardy, 3760 North, 300 East, Huntington. One question first. Kim, when was this put out or what? This is the first I've seen this. I'm not super tech, so I'm not on the computer a lot. I got more important things, but.
We
how
received
long-
it just a few days ago, so.
Okay.
Yep,
It'd been nice to kind of know what was going
yep,
on.
we
this
just
side.
got it,
Yeah.
just a few days ago.
Okay, it's
Yep.
hard to understand, okay. There's a lot of ways I could go on this, but I'm just gonna read something here instead of doing what I was gonna do. Thank you first of all, for allowing us to speak. I'm not gonna stand here and preach to you about the many negatives, impacts, and false hopes of these projects. I reviewed these projects and find them similar to the alternative energy projects that was just presented to us a few months ago. I'm seeing it going down the same road. Hopefully you've done your studies and you know what is going on. One thing I'd ask of the ordinance is we need to be very precise and protective. Cover the what-ifs and unknowns. Someone has to have the best ordinance. Why not Huntington County? Everything in the open. I would like to see you propose no verbal closed agreements. So people on the board can't make stuff with somebody and they can't say anything because they made a closed verbal commitment. Everything should be open to the public. It needs to be brought before us. I'd like to see some guaranteed protection for those who are affected negatively. I'd like to see the companies pay for these projects and for the infrastructure changes such as utilities, upgrades, roadways, waters, etc. The state, you mentioned, Zay, you mentioned that they pay for everything and nothing's given. In 2024, the state of Indiana gives $655 million to the data centers, and mainly it was to Google, not Google, but Amazon. And there's many breaks, and that money comes from us, the taxpayer. These are only a few highlights that should be considered in Huntington County ordinance. Don't let these companies pull the wool over your eyes. They are a business, only interested in their company. We owe them nothing. It's not us owing them. One example you talked about is in Fort Wayne, the data center, Google. You mentioned about the water and it being closed loop. There's still water being used and being evaporated there. But some of the unknowns I'm talking about, just at the Google Center in New Haven, 34 diesel generators was originally asked as permit. They've already upped that to 179 diesel generators to help cool and run their business. But they want us to think, hey, we're using less water. No, they're bringing in generators, using diesels, and the pollution that's there. So my time is up. I ask you to say no to these projects and
Okay.
keep it open.
Thank you.
Again, though.
Jean Grasmick.
At least I don't have to bend over. My name is Jean Pond Grasmick. I live at 7493 South, 400 East, Warren. And AI centers, or data centers, are inevitable at some point in time. But it's my hope and my prayer that all decision makers do your due diligence in studying the data center impact on all levels. Even though I have many concerns, I will address only one: the pollution of our watersheds and waterways. not only chemically, but thermally. The temperature increase of the discharge will greatly alter the entire ecosystem of watersheds, streams, and lakes. Many of the chemicals released into the watersheds are toxic and forever, leaching into our aquifers. This will impact generations to come. They leach copper, zinc, chromium, biocides, PFSAs, corrosion inhibitors, fluorinated gases that break down into trifluoroacetic acid, and the backup power discharge will release petroleum, battery acids such as lead and sulfuric acid. Even the most expensive filters can't remove this stuff. So I would hope that as you decide what you're doing and you're making your ordinances, that you are specific and that you really dig down and see, yeah, it might be closed loop, but they still release toxins. They release toxins in the air, and they're releasing toxins into our aquifers and watersheds. This will be generational. Do you want to be poisoning your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids? Thank you. Think about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer Woods.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Woods at 1034 Oak Street here in town. I agree with the comments expressed here this evening that data centers are a bad idea because of the likely impacts on water availability, electricity rates, and the other things that were mentioned, and the blight of monstrous buildings, eyesores on the beautiful countryside. But none of these reasons alone or even collectively capture the reason that I oppose data centers. Even if data centers were in space, not at all bothering water reserves or electricity or the beautiful silence of the countryside, I would still be opposed to them. Actually, indeed, I learned recently, Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, has submitted a request to the Federal Communications Commission to launch 1 million orbiting data centers. I'm opposed to data centers because of what they are going to be used for. Why do we need so many data centers? Whether it's 5,000 on the ground in the US or 1 million in space. We already enjoy substantial comforts and conveniences with online banking, online shopping, and all the rest of it. We already have all these things, so I can't imagine that the purpose of more data centers is so that we can have more consumer comforts. Some say data centers are needed for national security. Seems to me we have pretty excellent military capabilities already. Some say data centers are needed, more data centers needed to process all the data collected from various sources, flock cameras on every street corner. Everyone, but think about what such a system of 24/7 surveillance system does and what it says about the kind of society we are becoming. In order to catch a few criminals, everyone is treated like a criminal. Everyone is watched and tracked. Our movements are tracked with traffic cameras. Our air travel is tracked with facial scanning. Our online viewing habits are tracked. Our health data is shared across network of federal and state agencies. Purchases, plastic purchases are tracked, and someday cash may become obsolete, so all purchases are tracked. That's a lot of data. One can argue that each data set alone has its own valuable purposes, tracking down criminals, protecting children from online pornography, sharing health data to try to reduce medical errors, detecting financial fraud, all good things. But what if it were possible to combine all of that diffuse data? This is precisely what President Trump aims to do with recent executive orders. These are his executive orders to break down the walls of data sets between different federal agencies and to rapidly expand data center build out in the US. This is not an anti-Trump tirade. I voted for him, but I do think his plans to consolidate all data into a unique digital dossier about every individual is not conducive to a free society. It's hard to articulate all the dangers in these few minutes. I've written down my comments with links to the things that I referenced, in addition to an analysis by an IU researcher, if I may.
Yeah,
I will pass
thank
it
you.
around. I'm sorry, I don't have enough copies. My ink ran out.
Just give it to Kim.
Is this?
Kim?
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Jason McClure. Is there a Jason McClure downstairs? run down and,
Are you Jason McClure? Jason McClure?
Is there a next one you can wait?
okay, we'll come back. Chris Parker?
Oh, are you Jason?
Oh, you're
Okay,
Jason,
come on
okay.
up. Okay, we weren't sure. Okay.
Sounds a little off out there.
So-
My name's Jason McClure. I live at 3152 West 450 North, Peru. So I am a neighbor from a couple counties over.
Okay.
Just came in solidarity as we're kind of going through a similar thing with talk of data centers. So the biggest thing was to urge you all to listen to your constituents. You know, the folks who came out today, the folks at home, the folks at work, the ones who are sending emails and calling. Our plan commission chose to vote against the wishes of the majority of our county and went ahead and passed an ordinance that's pretty lackluster. It's now in front of our current commissioners and up for vote in a couple of weeks here. So I just wanted to share that. And then the other thing is water quality. Help your constituents acquire a baseline for their well in both quality of water, volume of water, and then set up regular testing so that we all know where we're at, where they stand. My county, same aquifer, the Mighty Tays, running downstream from you all. So what happens here also happens at my place. The best data centers really are no data centers. Economic development should never be at the expense of your neighbors. So constituents in this regard, at your level, they're not constituents, they're your neighbors. So that's about it. Water is life.
Thank
Land.
you.
Could you
Thank you.
send a copy of that ordinance to Kim for us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now
Kim?
we have Chris Parker.
Chris Parker, 10797 North, 100 East. Tonight there were 4 options presented, and I'm curious to know if any member of the board can cite an Indiana data center development and into which of these 4 categories it fits into.
What 4 categories?
Yeah, we have 4 categories. Of all the data centers in Indiana, can anybody cite a data center and which one it might fit into?
Of our options you're talking about.
Yeah, of our options.
I don't know,
It's
we
a
haven't
very
written an ordinance
general
yet.
question. We don't, I mean, what, you're asking us, to state-
Application, if there's,
I don't understand the question.
okay, that's fine. Can any board member or each board member articulate the pros and cons of these approaches?
We've been listening and we're studying that.
We're
That's
discussing
Okay.
That's
we're discussing
Haven't
that.
got an
That's our
ordinance yet.
meeting, yes.
Has anyone been to the premises of a data center? By show of hands?
Question answer. This isn't a question.
This is,
Thank you, Terry.
Question and answer.
what do you,
That's right.
What?
I was asking if by a show of hands, if anybody's been on the premises of a data center. No? By a show of hands, has anybody talked to the homeowner next to a data center?
we've heard comments from people. We just heard
Yeah,
secondhand comments from people, yes. Yes.
I understand the comments. I wondered if there was homework being done in preparation for data center conversation. That's my question. Has anybody talked to leaders from another county in which a data center has been developed and discussed the pros and cons of the 4 options? Okay. I appreciate your time.
Okay, next question, next person?
Tom Ringenberg, I think is the last name.
Thank you for the opportunity to listen to the public. I'm Dr. Ringenberg. I see patients every day.
Address, full name and address?
Oh, yeah, Tom Ringenberg, 1230 Waterworks Road, Huntington. Yeah, thank you. When I see patients, most of them come to me because they have been exposed to toxic things, self-toxic things that they have done or environmental things that have done. Now, you have to really think, what's more important? Is health wealth, or is taxpayer money wealth? If you don't have your health, you have nothing. Think about that. And does these data centers contribute to good health to the public? And I would say no. There's pollution in the air, there's pollution in the water, pollution in the food, pollution in the ground, pollution in the chemicals that we have in our households. Do we want another pollutant in Huntington County? I say no. So I want you to think about that. Yes, we can do all these great things, you know, have nice cell phones and things, but if you don't have your health, you have nothing. So really think about that. When you have to generate almost double the amount of energy for Huntington County to have a data center, what's that going to produce? Oh, data center, very few jobs, by the way. How many jobs is this data center going to employ? Very few, from my understanding. Is it worth it? Is it worth your health? When you generate that much energy, you're putting more toxins in the air. You got more pollution all over the place. Talk to people who have lived close to data centers, and they will tell you they're not happy with it. One other thing I noticed, the agenda was not followed properly today. The public did not have an opportunity to speak. You immediately went into the business, and I noticed that. So please follow your agenda. So thank you so much for listening, and I know it's not an easy job, and I do appreciate that you take your time to consider all these things, but it's an important thing to consider, and may you make the best decision for the people of Huntington County. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next person.
Just one second here. We have a handicapped woman downstairs that's trying to work her way up to get signed up here, so I'm adding her name to the list.
Okay.
Okay. What's your name? I'm sorry, say the name again.
Kimberly with an E.
Kimberly. What was the last name?
McElrath,
Can you spell that?
McIlrath, although my husband was probably not that.
Okay. Let's see here. All right, next speaker will be Hank Miller. Thank you.
Hank Miller, 5570 North 300 West. Welcome back, Andy. I'm sure you missed me. So, hear me out. I really don't think we should say no. However, we have plenty of places here in Indiana, such as Gary, Indiana. They have water, infrastructure, electric, everything's already there. But they won't build because they can't build fast enough, and they have to do a whole lot of work. So they've switched to rural farmlands because they could go fast and go quick. So what I would challenge the board is, you know, we have some areas here almost like Gary. I mean, we have a landfill that'd be great for a data center. They take care of the issues that the county is. They take care of that. We have HK Porter over here. Well, that'd be great for battery storage. That'd be awesome. We have somewhere in Andrews where they had a water problem. They would probably be grateful for some type of facility there. So I would say we don't say no, we just make it to say yes, just put it where they won't.
You heard us, we're considering doing it in manufactured zoning.
And I also want to say Steve Park, I did agree with you. Not often, but I heard you, I did agree with you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Matt Shoda.
Matt Shoda, Green Hill Court here in Huntington. Public safety and general welfare. That is the job of government. Okay, if it doesn't make the public safe, if it doesn't provide for the welfare, then it doesn't belong. Okay, the 4 options for zoning is just one tiny part of a very large issue. Making sure that the proper rules, regulations that protect our public, our citizens. That's your job, okay? So if the public has concerns over water, we need to look into what's the issues with the water. If the public has concerns with noise, we need to look into what is the problem with the noise. What can we do to correct it? I'm not saying no to data centers. I'm not a big fan, but I'm not saying no. I'm saying we need to address the issues that come with them before we do anything set in stone. You know, zoning can change. You can change a piece of zoning with a meeting. So zoning is just a tiny part. But getting everything laid out the way that this county needs it, because we're not Allen County, we're Huntington County. Before anything comes, before any data center even thinks about looking into it, will either provide for the public or deter a company that wishes to do us harm. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next, Kim?
Chuck Homeyer.
Could you state your name and address, sir?
My name is Chuck Charles F. Holmeyer. I've got about 10 addresses. I'll just give you my home address, though.
That'd be fine.
I'm a pretty good-sized taxpayer in Huntington County.
Can you tell us your address, please?
Oh, my home address. Which one do you want?
That's fine, yeah.
601 East Lamont Road, right
Thank
here
you.
in Huntington, Indiana. I know most of you. I want to thank all you for serving. I was on a school board. It sucks. I mean, you guys, it's tough, and I apologize for people coming after anybody individually. You shouldn't do that. I guess I'm not here to for or against. I'm kind of agnostic on it because I just found out about it. But I think that what I hear tonight is fear. Everybody's afraid. It's easy to say no. It's easy for everybody to say no, but it's hard to say yes. And so I think you're getting good information, and I want you to know I'm not for or against it because everybody thinks I'm, going to be negative, but I'm not. I mean, I might be if you put it close to homes. Probably everybody here and downstairs is going to be against it, including myself. But if you do what you say and visit places, and I mean, we did that with the ethanol stuff, and we all learned a lot about that stuff. And but I don't think anybody's against growth, because in Huntington we either grow or we die. We're not going to stay the same. And I trust Andy. Andy's lived here all his life, and I trust all you guys and gals, because you're here, you're citizens just like everybody here, and everybody's afraid. I can tell you from my experience, God, I've sued the county and the city 3 or 4 times in my career, and it's out of fear because you feel like you're being railroaded on everything. And it's not that you're bad people, I don't mean it that way. It's just that when you try to go too fast and not include everybody, and I can tell you these companies will lie to you. I've been lied to by several companies trying to come into Huntington, and it's just a fact. They stretch the truth, but I think you should visit places, do the right thing, and I want you to know that you're never going to get everybody to agree with you, just so you know, because I mean, that's not going to happen. You guys know that, but I appreciate you serving, and I appreciate you guys listen to everybody, and I'm hopeful that you'll take due consideration for everybody and do the right thing. You will. I know you will. You all live here, and I think the lesson for everybody is that you guys aren't against the community. You're for the community. You just got to make sure that the community doesn't die because we don't do anything. And one thing we also got to keep in mind, I know the doctor was up here about health, but we're going to have infrastructure. We're going to have a new school. And if we want a new school, we have to have tax money to do that. And so if we don't get tax money somewhere, whether it's this or something else, everybody in this room and downstairs is going to have to pay extra taxes to build a new school and infrastructures around here. And if we can get good, safe things in, I think we should. But I'll be on your side as long as you do the right thing and listen to everybody and work with everybody and eliminate the fears. Education is key. I can tell you that from all my issues with city government and county government. Anyway, thanks a lot, you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, just remind everybody, I hear a little background noise, just keep the comments quiet in the room, if you would, please. So go ahead, Kim, who's next?
I have a Judy, but I am not sure what the last name is. It might start with an S.
Shaw.
Okay.
She's out in the hall.
Okay. We'll have somebody let her know.
Okay.
You said Shaw?
Yeah.
Okay.
She came up and talked to me, so that's where she is. Okay.
Okay. We'll wait a few minutes so she can work her way up here.
Can I ask a question real quick?
You really need to be on the sign-in list.
It's just waiting.
That's up to,
Why can't we use the school for something like this when we know we're gonna have a large?
you've got to be at least at the microphone, Ed.
Yeah, let's just, I understand, yeah, he's asking about why we aren't using the school. I think this was what was decided. We have the space here at the courthouse, and so that's why we're doing it here, so.
Ed, in the meantime, may I respond to Steve Getters?
Here comes your next,
I wanted to
here comes your.
She's coming in.
All right.
Yeah, we'll talk. If you could state your name and address, please.
Judy Shaw,
How do you
My
spell your
address
last
is-
name, Judy?
SHAW.
W, okay.
My address is 5813 North, 200 West. I just want to say that a few years ago, they put a water tower on 600 to help feed the water into town, as far as I know. And it dropped our water level, not enough to need a new well, but what I'm wondering is, where's all the water gonna come from for this, keep this data center cool? I don't know how big the data center is they're talking. I heard of one that was 6,200 square miles in Virginia, which sounds insane. I don't know how big are you talking? I don't know how big this one was, but a guy had a video that he put out on the YouTube that just happened to pop up on me. The noise from a center that was, I don't know, it was near to 20 miles away. I was thinking here to Fort Wayne when he said it. Oh my gosh, and the light pollution, and what is it gonna do to people's health? I know these things have kind of been brought up, but I'm thinking, once upon a time, you used to pull me over all the time for not having my seatbelt on because you're so worried about my safety. But that's one person here and there and wherever. We're talking about a lot of people, and we have no idea what that's going to do. Someone just said it, that Dr. Ringenberg, the health, that is the one thing that I kept thinking about. And you said something about, Andy Zay, you are probably the only one that I could hear, so if I keep talking to you, that's why. I thought you said something about making water situation better. I don't know how anyone can do that besides God, because where's the water come from? We don't create water. Why should a business be able to come in here with no taxes paid? I mean, tax breaks to a point are okay, but did you say tax-free? Why would they be able to do that? And Does it create energy? Does a data center create energy? That is my question. Where's the water coming from? And where's all this energy source coming from? We don't even know. This is a big question mark, and I don't think it's something we should rush into. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who's next?
We have a Will, not sure of the last name on that either. It starts with a P.
William Piota. I live at 604 Polk Street in Huntington, and I don't really have anything different than what anyone else has said. I just wanted to touch on the possible tax breaks that were mentioned. The Hoosier Lottery was supposed to do the same thing, but I spent $165 for the tag on my 10-year-old Versa, so I'm not too hopeful about that. Safety was talked about, keeping the digital records on U.S. soil, but you can be hacked anywhere, and it's easy to address problems after the fact, but like maybe we should wait before we do it. Then also 4,440 data centers. Why so many so fast? You guys said 70% of people are against them, and why would we want to push people away from coming here to buy property? If so many people are against data centers, maybe I don't want one here if I want to sell my house. Also, we talked about future expansion. That makes me think this is going to be a lot larger than what we're talking about. As far as jobs that it creates, they're mostly security and out-of-state construction workers. I feel like a community pool would create more value and use less water. I have nothing more to add. Thank you all for your time.
Could you spell your last name for us real quick?
Piota.
Spell it?
Piechota.
Okay, who's next?
Kimberly, and I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly what the last name was. Yes. I can't understand my own handwriting.
With all respect to each and every one of you. I know you do a hard job.
Oh, can you talk in?
Yeah.
With all
Can
respect
you
to
state your
everyone
address,
here.
please?
Oh, I'm sorry, 3704 West, 500 North, Huntington, Indiana.
And do you have her last name spelled?
McElrath, McIlrath. Thank you.
Thank you.
With all respect to each and every one of you, regardless of which side you're on. If you choose to go that route, I just want to ask you a few questions to ponder. These things are only going to last for so long. Maybe 10 years. You can't build over top of them because of the forever chemicals. But can you build into your project the cleanup? Who is responsible for that cleanup? Can we get bonds put in place with some of the money that they've given so that we can have that cleanup? But the biggest thing is, I think, the studies on the water. Mushrooms, clean water, clean up, oil spills. Can we get studies on the mushrooms with the water? Not trying to be against it, but I'm not trying to be for it either, because, and I'm not trying to have a spirit of fear, because if I was afraid, I wouldn't be here right now, because I'm not one to get up and do this. I'm kind of just the girl in the back. I drive every day to Kokomo and back, and I've seen all of the construction, and it's been going on for a long time, and those guys have families, but we got families too, and the people, we need you. We need you to do the right thing. The animals need you. They don't have the voice. And when I flew in May, for the first time in 40 years, down to Louisiana, and I took the Atlanta airport, and I came back, and it was at night. When I was going down, It was daylight, and the structures were enormous. And I didn't know what I was looking at because I hadn't flown over these states in so long. When I looked down, I didn't recognize my footprint of my nation. And it is disappearing. Those farms are disappearing. The light pollution, it was like daylight when I looked down. And the big towers, and they're putting turbines in. Once they get their foot in the door, they sue the counties for more acreage. They want to set up their own turbines. Those turbines are loud. They do it in mass so that they can run their own electricity. So the turbines are the vibration. We've got to find an answer. And the answer isn't being quick. It's doing some good studies and going on those sites, looking at the water that these people are drinking after one has been built. I know they got closed loops, but when they put them back in, that water is pollution. They have to drain it and they have to clean it. And I've got a compilation of videos on my Facebook page. It is public. I am public. And I've been saving these videos.
Okay,
Anybody's welcome
we've
to
reached
come
your
and
time
view.
limit, ma'am.
All right,
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Karen Bennett. Do we have a Karen Bennett downstairs? We'll wait a minute. Yeah, I think Phil's going down there.
Somebody else after her, or she's the last one?
No, she's not the last one.
I was gonna say, is the other person in here?
Let's see.
She's almost here.
Almost here, okay.
Question for you, do you have Giordano on there? Jortano? Want to make sure.
Yeah, we have you down. Yeah.
You could state your name and address, please, for us, and then
I'm Karen Bennett. I live at 933 Cherry Street in Huntington. First of all, this is not part of my notes, and I'm sorry, I had to rush up the stairs. If Huntington County government cannot figure out how to seamlessly broadcast this meeting one floor below in real time, how are we to trust that you know what you're doing to understand and govern technology like data centers, power
everybody,
generation,
let's keep
and
it
carbon
quiet.
sequestration? I've been sitting down there. This is so frustrating. You said we didn't go to the school. The school has the technology. They could have done this. We should have gone to the school. You should have gone to the school. This is serious. We had people down there just pulling it up on the phone trying to listen to it because it kept freezing. There's no reason for that. I'm a retired IT manager, a mother of 5, a grandmother of 7. I grew up in Kalamazoo, Michigan, lived in Southern California and Fort Wayne. Huntington County is a rural county. We don't have to accept responsibility to solve the problems that have been presented tonight as challenges to our country. Huntington is not a wealthy county with deep pockets. We don't have the money to clean up the messes if we get it wrong. Nowhere are we required to be on the bleeding edge of technology. We don't want to grow to be another Fort Wayne. My husband and I moved here 31 years ago because of the small town feel and livability in Huntington. Who says we need to give this up? I urge the Plan Commission to enact a complete ban on data centers of any size in Huntington County for the next decade. I graduated from Western Michigan University the first year a computer science degree was offered. In my senior year, I had a course on AI. What was stressed over and over again is that strong guardrails are required to be put in place before we allow the technology to drive our actions. Nothing is forcing us to actually put in an ordinance or policies in the next year. We have 1 year. That's a short amount of time. Our leaders should not constrain us or themselves to just 1 year to get this right. Let's give Indiana, the state of Indiana, time to double or triple our electric power generation before we allow the development of huge consumers of our limited power. Let's give data center technology time to bring the water use requirements down and the outflow of where that hot, if they use antifreeze, where's that hot antifreeze going to go to cool off? Let's get that technology proven. The same with noise abatement. Now there's a study by Arizona State University outlining the heat domes being created. And I have papers here I'd like to pass out to everybody here.
Okay.
We've all heard about the heat domes causing the heat we've had around here that are natural.
Okay. Right.
Data centers create them artificially.
Thank you. You reached your time limit.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next, Kim?
Ash Weil.
Testing, 1, 2, all right.
Could you state your name and address into the...
Yes, my name is Ash Weil. I live on 235 Derringer Drive. I would like to say some things that are concerning to me. For one is the noise pollution. Imagine hearing this humming 24/7 and you don't get a break from it. Imagine the light pollution. This impacts migratory birds in our area. Like, do you guys want to ever see the stars again? Imagine this concept. The heat. It will raise the heat by several degrees. Do you guys remember what happened last week with all this heat? I couldn't imagine more. You know, it's just like outside will become unenjoyable. I love nature. I love walking our trails. I love hanging out at the university. This will ruin everything. Water. There's a drought going on in the rest of the country. People are being told to ration their water, to ration their electricity. It's because of these data centers. And a typical medium-sized data center uses as much water as 1,000 households. A large data center will use as much water as 50,000. This is not sustainable. We don't need AI. This is not about money. This is not about expansion. This is about protecting Huntington. Shut it all down.
Thank you. Okay, who's next?
Giordano Hernandez.
Hello, Giordano Hernandez, 1116 Byron Street, Huntington, Indiana. Thank you guys for staying up late. A lot of us are saying a lot of the same things. Sorry, I'm the same thing. So I just want to reinforce a lot of what is said. A lot of technical difficulties downstairs. I would advise you all to address that. I think it reinforces this idea that perhaps there is a misrepresentation of what the intentions are in this development. I think there were statements made, I heard about some of the needs that perhaps a data center would address. I don't think that those are actual needs that this community has put forth. I don't think there's been a needs assessment that brought this community together to offer this, whoever the design committee is or whoever's doing the construction documents. I know you guys have seen them. You have an understanding of the scale. That is critical to this. The fact that you guys don't want to show or tell us what that is reinforcing that you don't want us to be a part of this. This project is contributing to an overvalued market that is largely just AI. That's what this is about. And investors are going to be making a lot of money in it. I'm not an investor in AI. I'm not benefiting from this. A lot of people here are not going to benefit from that investment that they're not a part of. So, again, this constituency is not, I would imagine, largely benefiting from this project. Please come forward to us and tell us what those specifics are. What is the mechanical systems in this facility what are they doing? Someone mentioned improvements. I do not think the mechanical systems are moving that quickly that they can mitigate that sound that is perpetuating miles. I don't think that technology is there. AI's here. They're pushing that forth. They're not putting any energy into, and that's clear in this market, they're putting energy into AI. Generators, you guys have it on the agenda, you haven't touched it. Please inform everybody about the energy that is going to be powering this facility to scale. Again, this is the scale aspect. There are facilities that are using 400 backup generators to power their facilities. These are combustible generators that are exhausting methane or whatever their pollutants are into the environment that are, to what everyone's point is, impacting the environmental determinants of health negatively. And this misrepresentations. A lot of these companies are not telling us who they are. They're using proxy businesses to file for their permits. This is another thing that, this is why we think that you guys don't want us to know. If this is truly something that we are a part of, then that would not be the case.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Sherry Skeins, this is our last one. Yeah.
Because you can just hold that microphone, there we go.
Sherry, are you, there we go.
My name is Sherry Skeins, Skanes. My address is 1168 Oak Street in Huntington. And I'm going to try to be a voice from Huntington's future. I moved to Indiana in 2017 from California for a lot of reasons. The only other place that I've had a permanent residence is in Hillsboro, Oregon. Hillsboro, that area is famous for two startups. One was Nike Shoes and the other was Intel. Unfortunately, the startup of Intel grew and grew and grew, and the farming community suffered from the data centers, the production. It affected the water, the air, the power. They got on the power grid, ate all the energy from the town. They got on the water thing, not only contaminated the water tables, but their consumption of water, it was so high that there wasn't anything for the farms to water the plants with. Everything withered up and died. Hillsboro's no longer a farming community, and if you go there, you will see it's a ghetto. And I mean a ghetto. Their homes are falling apart. There's no safe infrastructure. Drugs are a problem. And when I lived there, it was wonderful. It reminded me very much of Huntington today. And that's one of the reasons that I chose Huntington. Another reason was because you advertised that this town is where you age in place. Unfortunately, my property taxes in 1 year went up $1,000. When you're on a fixed income and you're my age and disabled, you don't have the flexibility of coming up with an extra $100 a month on your mortgage. You really need to consider of taking care of the people that live here and their needs, and not trying to attract demographics. I read you guys were doing that. You don't need the land destroyed by turbines or solar or these data centers. You know, if there's a global problem, a global disaster, they're not looking to Indiana to provide data. You can't eat data. Huntington's got some of the best farmland in the state, and you need to keep that sacred. You need to be able to use this land to feed people. And that's all I have to say. I'm going to leave you with some words of wisdom from someone else from my generation, Joni Mitchell. Don't it always go, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. You pave paradise and put up a parking lot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kim, is there anybody else?
No, that's it. Sure, what's the name?
Okay, come on ahead up and state your name in the microphone with your address so everybody knows who's speaking.
Okay, yes, my name's Polly Weimer. I live at 7515 North, 400 West Markle. My husband and I have also properties in Wells County and Huntington County. And I just wanted to state that George Benosky, yes, he had a great plan. Wait 5 years, and we've been fighting solar for the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years in Huntington County and Wells County. And the way it turns out is it was 5 years ago when it started anyway, right? So why not wait 5 years, let everything smooth out, see the mistakes and the right things that other people did, and they make a decision from that. We've also been talked to about education, and all the time in both counties we hear about economic development. Come on, we can do better. Let's be creative. Let's promote Wells County and Huntington as a town for what we already have, what this state has, Indiana. Let's market ourselves. Something like, if you're hunting for a town or a county that has rural values, consider us. That could be our motto. There are different things like Shipshewana. Look at Shipshewana. They don't want a data center there. They're still productive. They bring in people. We've had here in Huntington Breyer's ice cream. I have cousins who live in Wisconsin. They come here, they want Breyer's. They want to take it home with them. We spend time in Florida. Breyer's is a very popular product. It's all natural. We have 7 Sons that are just over on the pretty much Allen County and Wells County line and Huntington County. And they're organic. We have organic farm market people just around the corner from us. My uncle is 83 years old, lives in Wells County, and he just a couple years ago put his farm into organic alfalfa. If an 83-year-old can be that creative, why can't we do something like that? I say there should be no solar. We got rid of that, thank goodness, for now, and no data. And if you look at, we don't need this modernization, just like she just said. People come to this county for a certain reason. If you look at the data, also, I don't know if you've been noticing, but a lot of schools are banning cell phones. They don't want the kids to have them. There's been, the doctor just talked about, the health problems. I heard you're not supposed to really put it on speaker if you're going to talk to it. Don't put it up to your head. Promoting all this stuff is just making our health much worse. For an example, I have a sprained knee. Okay, in the process of this sprained knee, I have received over 25 emails or texts just to go to the doctor once, get a prescription, and set up therapy. That's it. So we are gluttons in using this stuff, and if we keep promoting it and damaging our beautiful state, it's going to end.
Okay,
Where's
thank
it going to
you.
end? Okay, thank you.
Kim, is there anybody else?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I guess if it's okay, I would like, Kim, could you kind of give a little bit of back information, how we got here, and then what the future direction is, and then also kind of the purpose of why we're here, why are we talking about an ordinance for something that we don't have? And what implications do we have of not having an ordinance in place?
Terry wants to.
Steve, I'll do that. So, I saw some really nervous people. One of them was my cousin Judy there. She was really nervous, and I really felt bad for her. She was like a fish out of water, and she didn't want to be here any more than somebody in the back of a church that doesn't belong, okay? All right, so let's back up to the solar. I think that's what's put a bad taste in some people's mouths. That started before I became a commissioner, and I don't know all the specifics of that, but I know where it ended up at. It ended up with a lot of mistrust, and they thought there was backdooring going on, and There were a lot of secret handshakes, and that was just that's what was brought up. And so there was a lot of mistrust. At the end of the day, we ended up getting everybody involved, the public involved. We had open public meetings, and we worked through it together as a community, and everybody knows where we landed at, okay? We are doing this today with data centers because, and I can hardly wait to see Judy, we have nobody knocking on our door wanting to put one in Huntington County right now, unless I don't know about it.
That's correct.
Okay. We have nobody wanting to put a data center in Huntington, Indiana right now. None. Not big, not small, not medium, not this size, and we're going to expand it once. I mean, I heard the conspiracy theories here today.
Or carbon or batteries, right, Terry?
So nothing like that.
Okay.
Okay, so what we decided to do so we could do something better than what we did with solar, and I agree with Chuck, I don't trust any of those people. I don't. And we found that out, that we got lied to, Don, you and I got lied to a lot, okay? So we decided that we, as a group, would put this together, not to vote on anything, to get the public involved and get input and move forward together as a community, just not us. So we are here with you, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, okay? Not us against you. We're here side by side, shoulder to shoulder. That's what we're doing here tonight, and that's what we will move forward. I will agree with about 10 comments. This courthouse is, I don't know how many years old now. It is not set up and does not have the technology to accommodate what we're doing right here. We can't vote on anything tonight, but I can ask for a consensus that our next meeting be moved to the school or somewhere that can accommodate our needs together as a group. And can I have a consensus roll call on that?
Sure. All right, so I guess somebody has to make the motion.
I just made the motion.
Second.
Who was the second, Jerry?
What, are we just, our next meeting will be there, or just when we're talking
Somewhere
when we're
other
talking
than
about
here.
this?
Other than
right?
here.
When
Yes.
it's ready to
That's
talk.
what I guess I want to clarify, Terry. There's a motion on the table, and I want to make sure, because I'm saying this for your benefit too, because I know as a commissioner, you have to make sure that you cover the right steps in setting up these meetings, and also Kim. So I want to be clear, because we typically have plan commission meetings in the courthouse. And so I just want to be clear whenever a motion is made, that people understand what the motion is.
In respect to what we're doing with the 3 topics, the
Okay.
capture, the
That's-
data, right.
yes, that's what we want.
And that
Because
only
this-
promotes transparency where everybody can be together as one.
Because this room is where we hold our plan commission meetings on a typical evening when in the courthouse. And so whenever we do have something like you're saying, whenever, that's what I want to be clear on what the motion is, so.
We had a windmill meeting in the auditorium one day. I remember that.
Okay. I
It could be
think we
done.
should move forward there, okay?
I guess, and are you specifically stating that do we know that it can be at the school? I don't know. That's what I don't know.
A school or
I'm-
somewhere that will
I'm
accommodate
asking
us.
the question because I know that there's been some pushback sometimes when going different places, so I just want to ask.
It'll have to be somewhere where it can be recorded, and it'll have to be somewhere where it can be recorded.
That's what I'm getting at from, and I know we have questions, we don't really know for sure if it can be recorded, because we've got different laws than we had last time for recording meetings, and so we have to make sure we can record and we can
They
show
record
it
all their
to
plays
the
for
public,
shows,
so
Link
we
Wire.
have to follow those. Those are procedures, Terry, that we have to make sure we can follow, so I'm not sure we want to be voting on something that we don't know if we can follow through with, because he's in the back here, we don't know if we can record. We have to follow state laws now in recording meetings. So this is something that we have to be very careful about voting on, and so I just want to state that to the plan commission before we vote on something like this.
Well, I would tell you that I ran the heroin meeting when I was the sheriff. We recorded that, and that was 12 years ago. So
Okay.
I hope it's got better. Huh?
We have to have live broadcasting as well.
Why don't we
Let's make a motion that
You
if
already
we
have
can
a motion on the
accommodate,
table.
well, he
Why
can
don't we
amend
make
it.
a motion that Kim and Yocum will check
Yes.
into the possibility
There you
if
go.
it can be recorded properly,
Right, because we want to make sure we follow public law, because I'm not trying to do this to be a jerk, I'm just doing this because this is it's important that we follow public law as when you hold these meetings, and we are broadcasting this so people can watch this meeting, so we want to restate that motion.
I'll make a motion that we do better than what we did tonight.
Okay, well,
I'll second that one too, Terry.
all right.
In regards to accommodating everybody together,
Trying to get
we
everybody
can
in
find
one
a place
space.
in Huntington, Indiana. We're not that rural. We should be able to find a place
Where we can
do
record the meetings and also
And
have
make it a lot
live
easier for
broadcasting.
a lot
We
easier.
have to make sure that we can do both, because otherwise, so everybody in favor of this motion and seconded by Jerry?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay.
Sum it up. Does that answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, the only other one, part of it was, if we do not have an ordinance in place, what would happen? 'Cause I think we've had that conversation in the past.
Right, we have a moratorium in place, until an ordinance can be drafted. Without an ordinance, without an ordinance, it would leave the decision up to the BZA if they were to request a variance of use at this time. It's not a permitted use, it's not a special exception in anything, there's no, zoning district that would be appropriate for this use. They would have to request a variance of use. That would put the pressure on the BZA to then come up with the design standards at that time.
Right, and that was the basis that we had talked about in the past, was that if there is no ordinance in place, we're making it up on the fly, basically.
Correct. And tonight's goal is to provide guidance and direction to an attorney, Tim Oakes with Ice Miller, who is an expert on designing and crafting these types of ordinances. This is going to give him the direction that Huntington County wants him to take when crafting that ordinance. He has to have some direction to go in. So that's the point of this meeting tonight.
And that would come back again in a public meeting and have a similar conversation.
Correct. It would have to have a public meeting to give a recommendation to the commissioners for the drafted ordinance.
And also, I think one of the other comments was that if the facility goes out of business or goes away of decommissioning, I think in several of the ordinances I've read thus far of other counties in the area that have ordinance, I think I've seen that in several of those. And then there was also a recommendation that I had on my list too, so. And we did that with the wind and solar and all of those of decommissioning. That's why.
You're referring to the bonding for the decommission.
Yeah, bonding, well, it's the decommissioning, saying that they have to remove it, and then there needs to be some mechanism, whether it's a bonding or cash or something, to guarantee that it happens.
That it gets cleaned up.
Yeah. That's all I had.
Okay. Any other discussion items regarding this?
Or not this one, but we got the other two.
We do have the other two, so, do you want to deal with this first before you go on the other two, or?
I guess originally when we talked about it, we were going to hit them separately, of doing that. The priority was with the data center, and then the other two would follow in behind. So I'm not as prepared for those two as I am the data, but I guess I would promote pushing that off to another meeting later.
I would like to request that we have a special meeting for the other items. We are updating our UDO this year, because we are required to have a public hearing per the new House bill. I think it's House Bill 1001, where a public hearing is required to discuss how to create additional housing. So that UDO update was a way for us to have that public hearing. Before we adopt the UDO, I would love if we had our ordinance in place by the end of the year to have it adopted and then included in the UDO without then having to amend our UDO after the beginning of the year, if you follow me, if possible. So I would prefer
you
not
tell
to
the
wait
public-
another month to have another meeting.
Could you tell the public what the UDO is?
The UDO is our Unified Development Ordinance. It replaced our zoning ordinance. So it's the zoning ordinance and the subdivision control ordinance. It's basically our rules of operation in our office.
And this is something that has been in the works for quite a while, right, Kim? I mean,
Correct.
it's not something we're just starting. We've been working on this. It's an ongoing process. I'm serving on the committee along with some other community members. I may get my words out correctly, but that's something we meet once a month, and we're currently updating that ordinance because it needs to be in a more modern format than where we're at currently. So
To meet modern laws that are in effect
That's
now that
right.
were not at the time.
that's
the
right.
original
So
ordinance was written.
it's something that we feel like, or Kim has been taking the lead to make sure that we're in compliance with current standards. So okay, so we got that straightened out. So I guess according to what you're saying, Kim, and do we want to then tonight focus on obviously the data center discussion has been the focus, and so do we want to go ahead and talk about these four options?
Kim, how long would it take Tim to draft the ordinance, or a possible ordinance for us to review?
I do not know. I have asked him if he could have something available by September or October, and I have not gotten a response yet.
So I guess I was thinking if it was possible, we could couple it with the other items too.
I
But
was under
if
the
it's gonna be
impression that they
long-
all three would be in the same ordinance. There would just be some different sections. That was the impression I was under.
Okay,
So I feel like we really would discuss them all kind of as one ordinance.
gotcha.
Just with each one having just slight variations.
Right, one would be a different section number with its own requirements. And this is primarily what Tim Oakes does. He drafts ordinances like these, so I would say he's probably one of the leading experts in the
Right.
state, which is why the commissioners selected him to do the ordinance.
Okay, so as far as where we're at tonight, Bob, are you still with us? We haven't checked in with you.
Yep, just was muted.
Okay. All right, well, didn't want to leave you out of any discussion. Did you have any other things that you wanted to discuss, Bob? He's shaking his head no, I see. So, okay, thank you. Okay.
No, I apologize. I just had it muted, but no other comments from me.
No other comments. Okay, thank you, Bob. Okay, so we're at the point here, we've had some comments made about some of the options as the board. Does anybody have any more comments they want to make about any of those options available to us? Again, these are what has been recommended from the attorney that specializes in writing these, so.
So are we supposed to give a recommendation on one of those four options?
That's correct, yes. That's our whole goal tonight, is if we can come up with some kind of a consensus on which of these options.
And we still have the opportunity to
Change.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So that's why I thought one was a good starting point.
I'm still in one.
So anybody else have any other of the options presented that I think from the comments, I would agree with what Steve and Jim had stated. I think some really good thoughts about that as far as because of the M1 that exists already, so.
Good starting point.
Okay. So, Kim, should we just have a raise of hands for?
I would say, with option number one, raise of hands of those who would be in favor of option one, and then you could, if obviously, if you have a consensus.
Because we're not making a motion. We can do the
What?
consensus. Yes.
So option one, is that, everybody raise your hand for option one? Okay. All right. Bob, did you have vote on that? He's raising his hand, okay, all right, okay. All right, so we've got consensus on option one, and this, we're gonna have more discussion at a future meeting then about the other two items, Kim.
You can, yes, if that's how you want to do it, you can discuss those at a special meeting coming up. If we can do a special meeting, I would prefer that than waiting another month.
Just schedule it.
What's that? And also with option one then, let's see here. It looks like the consensus was option one. Do you want, say, a data center to be a permitted use in the M1 or M2? Now it says here M2. Somebody just mentioned M1. Do we want that to be only in M2, M1 and M2?
What is the difference between M1 and M2?
Yes,
Well,
please clarify.
M1 is a light manufacturing, whereas manufacturing, or M2 is more of a little bit of a heavier manufacturing. So
What do you recommend, Kim?
I would say M2 if it were my opinion, but I'm not a voting member.
Okay with that? We can change, I mean, if we decide that's not where we wanna go, we'll start that way and see where it goes.
The current, looking at the plan, our current zoning, it seems like the ones and twos are kind of grouped together in most locations.
Yeah.
I mean, we can, that's one of those
I
things.
mean, we
can
even have an
chirp tweak.
M3, but that's extractive, so that's a pretty rare,
Right,
you
right.
know,
I'm just thinking of
occurrence.
existing
right.
opportunities to maybe put something in where there isn't something,
Right.
or something
It
needs
could
to
be an allowed
replaced,
use
or, you know what I
in
mean?
an M1 and an M2 would still require development plan approval, no matter what.
Yep.
You could even add that it would still require a special exception.
And that could be on scale potentially.
On what?
scale.
That could
Yeah,
be
like
based upon scale.
Size.
Over a certain size, then it would have
Mm-hmm.
to have a special exception.
Yeah, having, stick some stuff in there about what he thinks good size breaks would be for different, you know,
Okay.
I wouldn't know.
So did we say M1 and M2, or did we just settle on M2? What's the consensus? Raise of hands if you want to include M1 and M2. Okay, just M2, raise your hands. Bobby, where do you fall in that?
One.
Okay.
Include one?
Bobby, you just want the M2?
I'm so sorry. I'm good with M1, M2. It's gonna be A.
Okay. So
Yeah,
I think
I was with the M1, M2, I did, yes.
okay, raise your hands again if you have, if you like the M1 and M2.
M1, M2.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that's the consensus, M1 and M2?
We can
Yeah,
talk
he
about
said-
it more. We ain't putting anything in stone right now. This is just to get the ball rolling.
That could be that could be scale, again, you know.
I mean, it can be included in an M1 and M2, and then you could say, you know, of a certain size, and either district would require the special exception.
Maybe.
But I think we need to rely on Tim's direction on
Right.
that too. If he has a suggestion, I go with him.
He knows more than we do.
Yeah.
Never half the people that wants to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
So I think that settles the option 1 through 4, if I'm understanding everything right. So now you would want to discuss some of the specific items at the bottom that you would want to see included in the ordinance under the development standards. Now, there might be things that Tim Oakes comes back with that you maybe didn't think of that he feels is important to be in an ordinance, and that will come during your review prior to the next public hearing.
I have a whole list of those things.
Okay.
I can give you
Okay.
somewhere. Yeah, that was red right there.
Don, you had some things as well that you'd like to see?
Yes, I think it's important that no water is used for their cooling systems. It's been discussed tonight that they have availability of using closed loop with antifreeze as their coolant, so I think that would be at their option, but they're not going to use any Huntington County water for their cooling.
That's one of the options right here.
You want me to read through these, or do you want?
Yeah, go ahead, and then you, and then I guess Don can go, and,
You get the microphone.
Yes, thank you. These are mine, so it's up to Tim's suggestion. Not be permitted in agricultural, residential, neighborhood, commercial districts, floodways. Number 2, define scale from small to hyper scale, which we talked about. Minimum site size, and in the one ordinance that I've seen, it had an acreage that was required minimum, but I think that needs to be more of a X times the scale of the building. You know, so a 50-acre site wouldn't be necessary for a smaller type of data center, but a big data center might need to be bigger. So there's some factor you can be put on to the size. Setbacks obviously need to be addressed. What those are, I had 1,500 feet. Maximum impervious surface on the site, maximum of 70%. Screening and mounding around the site.
I don't think you have to worry much about setbacks when you're in M1, M2, right?
Well, the setbacks in an M1 and M2 is only 50 feet.
Yeah.
And that's part of.
50,
No,
I'm sorry,
he's 50, but he's 1,500.
Oh.
That's gonna knock a whole bunch of your
really
manufacturing
limit
sites out.
Yeah,
Is my point.
Again, these are just
Yeah,
things.
It's a starting
okay.
point.
That's just one of those.
Yeah, they can be discussed. Screening and mounding, lighting, dark sky standards, which is basically keeping it from going up into space. Water usage must be closed loop and must demonstrate long-term supply without adverse effect existing areas. Water use, provide annual report to the county. Electrical, demonstrate capacity, possibly require self-generation, and that's an open type of discussion. Requirements separated from local grid. Electrical, provide documentation of background power, operation, noise, frequency, and timing of testing of the generators, only for emergency generation, not for supplying power. Noise requirements, provide annual reports of specific county impact issues, identifying power, water, traffic. Also address construction process, define access to site, traffic impact, managing local disruption, temporary structures of how they are identified, and the duration of such. That's what I had listed. And a lot of that came from other ordinances that have been crafted to this point. I'll give you a copy of it, Kim.
When you talk about the testing of the water,
Hey, make sure that we're talking into the microphone, please. Thank you.
when you were talking about the testing of water, should that be also stipulated that it should be an outside source, not them testing their own water?
Yes. Again, those are specifics
kind
of
of
drafting.
testing,
What are you testing?
The
Contaminants.
discharge.
Anything that's-
You just said you're gonna do closed loop
There's
with
still
a
water,
chemical system.
still
They
water.
still gotta discharge something. It'll still discharge something.
Do we typically do that for
Any industrial?
manufactural?
I
Yeah.
don't know. That's what I'm asking.
That's what I'm asking.
Condensation. A lot of condensation on that stuff.
And again, these are for just a conversation, and that's my thoughts.
We're in industrial. I get it if you're out in agriculture, and we're worried about where the water's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
We're in M1.
yeah, we don't do that for a lot of other type of industry, those type of things
And
that you're.
maybe we should.
Well, I'm not gonna dispute that.
So,
They're not the county.
yeah.
Just a conversation.
Yep.
Yep, it's a starting point. And rely on Tim a little bit to what's realistic.
Anybody else on the board have things they want to add to what's some of the things Steve has shared?
I think Terry had mentioned perhaps setting up their own power grid, what they're going to establish. Yeah, where that's going to come into play. Also, no testing between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. of their generators. And as Steve has already said, generators are to be used solely as backup. Also, a concern about noise pollution. constant hums that would perhaps be below 65 decibels, but still of great annoyance to close neighbors. And a standard use, road use and repair agreement.
Aren't a lot of those things solved by being in an M1 and an M2? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of noise out there in Industrial Park, 24 hours a day. You know what I mean? That's why I was thinking, if you do manufacturing, you kind of, you know, when you go out in the country, then a lot of that stuff comes into play, noise and all this other stuff, lights. And when you're in a manufacturing zone, that's why I thought it would be a good place for that stuff.
That comes up with more adjacent to a residential area.
Absolutely. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, any other comments from the board? Good discussion. Okay. Kim, as far as where we are right now, anything that you would like to suggest to us, or?
I mean, I would like to, I mean, if you guys feel that you need more time to research the other items. Now, I think Tim has a pretty good handle on the carbon sequestration, but I think he said right now a lot of that is tied up in court.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that we really want to dive too much into that without his input. The battery energy storage system, I feel like, is a fairly easy thing that we could address, but if you want to have another meeting to go over that.
Well, can he draft something for us to start with?
Yeah, I mean,
I would say that.
And then critique it at that point?
Let's do it.
I mean, do you want, he at least wants a starting point with some of the basic development standards. If we could hash those out tonight, get a consensus on those, then yes, he could develop a draft, and then you could read it over and have a public hearing, and then if you need to make tweaks to it, we can make tweaks to it.
Okay.
The only carbon sequestration efforts I know about are at ethanol plants, and they're pumping carbon dioxide into the ground, and I'm totally against doing that out in the country.
Yeah.
I think it's unproven science, and there's just too many crazy things with it. So that's my opinion on that. You can ban them if you want to. If that's the only application there is, that's the only one I know of. And we don't have an ethanol plant, so.
Do we want to go through each of these things real quick and, you know, somebody kind of say what they think the setback should be, and everybody can, you know, say whether they agree, disagree, and have a discussion on whether that needs to be increased or decreased?
But are you talking with carbon
Yes.
sequestration and
No,
battery?
I'm talking with data centers. I feel like we'd want to at least hammer that stuff out first before maybe we move on to the battery energy storage system.
Oh, I thought we just did.
Oh, no, I feel like that we kind of would leave to Tim to have a draft, and then everybody could review it, and certainly if somebody comes up with some research and wants something to be added, we can pass that along to Tim and have him add that.
Okay.
We can have another meeting, we can have a special meeting to discuss just carbon sequestration or battery energy storage systems.
Well, those two systems, we didn't have any public input in that, and those at all, okay?
Right.
We had a little bit. There were some people that did address a few things, so.
Yeah.
They,
Do we want to see what
Okay,
Tim
for now,
comes back with?
Okay, so setback for the data center's 100 feet. Let's start there. Oh. Sorry. M1's 50. I can build a factory within 50 feet, right?
I
M1
mean,
setback's 50 feet.
you know, maybe if it's adjacent to M1 uses 100 feet or so, but I'd say if it's adjacent to residential or agricultural property, maybe the setback needs to be much higher.
I am so worried about the consequences to other economic development in doing some of this. I'm telling you, I mean, that's why you put it in M1 and M2. I mean, go out to the industrial park, go out to, I mean,
I don't know.
We do have to keep in mind that every manufacturing zoning district, whether it's M1 or M2, has a border, and sometimes that border is ag land, sometimes that border is R2 residential, just saying that.
I don't think there's a M2 lot big enough if you put a 1,500-foot setback. Build anything.
I would agree with you.
That's a quarter of a mile.
That's I mean, that's, you might as well just pass a ban.
I don't know. I had a feeling we're not gonna be able to put enough acreage together to get these things anyway, so I just thought it was a good place to start.
So, Steve, what you're looking at is
With the 1,500, I guess.
go ahead and speak a little.
I was thinking more in terms of a residential area adjacency. So, to be more removed from any kind of residential community type of area as far as possible, which is most of the manufacturing is.
Steve, you mean residential area as in like our 4 zonings, our 8 things along those lines, SR, suburban residential, you're not referring to ag, in which a residence is an allowed use or permitted use in an ag district.
Yeah.
You're talking just the residential districts.
Any feel for what the city wants to do with their manufacturing zone? With
No.
this?
I have no feel for that.
I mean, should we inquire what their?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we don't have very much M1 and M2 right now, wouldn't we have to approve that area or change that zoning? And would we consider whether it's near residential or not?
Sure, I mean, that's absolutely part of what you do.
So that's kind of answering some of this question about 1,500 feet. Just my thought.
Say that again, Terry, I didn't hear the first part of what you said.
Well, I mean, if we don't really have M1 and M2, so at some point, if somebody would want to put in one of these centers, which is, who knows if it's ever.
Right.
But they would have to rezone that to M1 or M2.
Correct, and I think that goes back to Steve's point about do we, how are we gonna feel about spot zoning somewhere in M2 or an M1 district versus taking an existing M1 and M2 and allowing it to expand, right? Did I understand that right, Steve?
But at that point, wouldn't we be looking at, well, okay, it's near residential, so
Right.
we've got to
Is a rezoning appropriate here?
We wouldn't allow it.
Just like we always do when we do rezoning.
Right, or we put in special exceptions, or to consider the light pollution,
Yeah,
consider
at
the
any time,
noise
someone could
pollution,
present an application for a rezoning, say from ag to M1 or M2.
We always
And you would
consider
consider
that.
it, and then the commissioners would give the final approval on that, yes.
But to just say blanket, 1,500, I mean, you kind of see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. But we do still have to have the design standards if something is approved. So yes, you guys will still have to hash out these details.
Sure.
Or see what Tim comes back with. But I think he would like guidance from you as far as, what you would like to see as far as the main concerns that he's listed on this.
Okay. Anybody else have comments? Bob, you have any more comments?
I guess the only comment that I would have is basically just a question. Could you have a setback further on a residential side versus, say, the other 3 sides of a property? If an M1 adjoins to a residential property, could you make that a further setback?
Yes, you can, absolutely.
I mean, it could be combination of things, yeah.
I didn't hear the first part of what you said, Bob, but I heard the last part, and so you're saying if a M1 or M2 property abuts next to a residentially zoned or used, zoning or it's being used as residential, can we have different setbacks for, say, that boundary line? Is that what you're asking?
Yes,
Yes, you can.
exactly.
And you can require additional buffering or vegetative screening or things along those lines. You can require a lower decibel rating in those situations.
But we do that a lot when we're asking for that zoning approval, correct?
I mean, at that point, you are just trying to decide, is this type of a use, this type of a zoning district appropriate in this area? And you've got those findings or criteria that you look at when deciding on a rezoning. You can't have a rezoning with commitments.
Okay. Right. Because you can make those decisions when it's done.
Okay, so Steve's got to step out for just a minute. He'll be right back. So, Kim, I guess just to say we've got some consensus on to share with Tim Oaks, correct? I mean, we've got.
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten a consensus on the option, but I don't feel that we've reached a consensus on any of the other details yet, from the way I'm seeing it.
The other details are what?
The other details would be setbacks, noise limits,
No, we have not made a consensus at
Right.
all. None.
height limits, landscaping and buffering requirements.
You think in the manufacturing zone, we should make a specific noise ordinance for a data center?
Not a noise ordinance, but I think that you can require them to remain under a certain decibel at their expense of testing every, whatever time period that you feel is necessary. I'm sure there's some other requirements that Tim can, add to that section of,
Do we do that to any other manufacturing?
I'm just asking.
what's that?
Do we do that to any other manufacturing?
No.
So why are we concerned with the noise
I
level
will say, we
on
don't
data
often
centers and
hear
not
of a
other
lot of
manufacturing?
complaints of other manufacturing businesses having the humming sound. I do feel like that is a fairly common, maybe complaint that I have heard about. I think it's worth addressing.
These are your ideas. Yeah, he's got a lot of these. If you want to go over them and come to consensus.
Yeah, I didn't quite hear every, so is everybody in agreement that we pass along Steve and Don's specific
Sure.
requirements? I feel like maybe we need to address the setbacks again. There seemed to be a little disagreement on setbacks.
Yeah. I think, I have sort of epiphany. With doing the ordinance, we're setting it up for discussion purposes. But if we set it up for, the 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 feet setback, and then they have the ability
To request a variance.
To request a variance.
Correct.
But we need to look at it and consider.
But you can only approve that if they meet the findings of fact, so you just have to keep that in mind.
True. But it's, we need to consider what the right setback is for this particular type of building, because we're being very specific.
Right, I would say this type of building does have its differences with other types of buildings, but I think you can even say, oh, right, if the data center, the area on the M1, M2 property that's gonna be placed on, has, any residential zoning or use adjacent to it, the setbacks can go up to this. You can have maybe a setback, And you can change that if it's adjacent to residential
Yeah.
uses or
And I
zoning.
think in what I hinted
And
out,
it
it
Is that what-
has
okay.
that.
Like next to residential, it's 1,000 feet. And then the manufacturing is like 100 feet or 200 or whatever.
There's a 500,
Yeah,
and there's a 300.
anytime you got by a house was 1,000, or residential district was 1,000.
So if everybody wants to take a look at what Steve has proposed here, and everybody seems to be in favor, we have a consensus on that, I will forward it to Tim and see what his thoughts are on that, and we can see what he comes back with.
This was a starting point, it's
Yep.
not.
Right, I was gonna say. Basically, all that is a copy of the ordinance from LaPorte County, is it not?
This is LaPorte County's here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I emailed you some other ordinances to look at, just as an example.
I didn't like LaPorte County's.
So would you like for me to read off what these are for everybody's benefit?
I think it could be helpful.
I don't want to, no.
Okay.
I can go along
I
with,
am not making a knee-jerk reaction tonight, so you can get those and put those in front of me, so I can read them and look at them and digest them myself, but
I agree.
I'm not being railroaded into something that we went through this crap before, and I'm not
Yeah,
doing
we gotta
it.
get a
Do you
starting point.
want to designate a special meeting date while the public is here to just let everybody read it over and discuss it again? In a couple weeks, or a month,
That's
if
fine.
a month is
Give me,
fine?
give me a couple weeks to look at it. but-
Why
And
do
I'm
we,
not saying they're not
do
right.
we need
but-
to have a special meeting, or do we go with the next plan commission meeting? Yeah.
That's up to you.
That's all.
I think that's all of it, yeah, I thought maybe it was
John,
multiple
are yours
copies.
incorporated in here too?
many things are very similar, with the exception of water use. No water will be used if I have anything to do with it. They have a closed loop system that's available to them, so let that work best. But everything else there Steve has is pretty good for a starting point. So
Okay, so the question we would have in front of us then is our next scheduled plan commission meeting is Wednesday, August the 12th at 5:30 PM. Is that appropriate? Or, I mean, this is, lots of people are, I'm just talking, might be hard to get a meeting. We got a regular scheduled meeting in another month, so let's,
You're gonna do it at the school?
Or somewhere
Or
that will,
someplace more conducive.
Yoakum and I are gonna find out. We'll look into it.
You know, make a motion that is pending on what capabilities available at the school, they can have the meeting, we can meet the requirements of state law. Does it make
yes.
Yeah.
That's what
Again,
we did, if it meets the requirements of.
again,
we've got the school.
so just to clarify, yeah, the requirements of state law, it must be met, is what Yoakum is saying in the background here. So that's what we need to make sure the public understands is, yes, we will do what we can to have a meeting in a different venue if possible, but we definitely have to look into this to make sure we are compliant with state law. What I'm hearing is that we will send our recommendations, their starting point recommendations, we're sending to Tim Oakes, the attorney that is drafting.
Well, are we saying that we want to send that to Tim, or are we do it, I guess from Terry's point of view, I thought maybe you guys were gonna mull it over again before we decide on what we're sending to Tim Oakes. Do we decide at the August 12th meeting what we're sending to Tim Oakes, if the sheet that we just went over suffices to send to Tim Oakes? Or are we sending it to him now? Like,
I think you better get him started.
I think we give them this information that we've talked about tonight.
Right.
Right or wrong.
Right.
And let him get something drafted, and then once we have it drafted, then we can review it with something
Right.
that has some solidness to it.
you can review it
Yeah.
as a public hearing or not as a public
Yeah,
hearing?
we can change it and
Okay.
pack it up and reorganize it,
Right.
but have
Something with a little substance to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you correct, I am passing this information to Tim Oakes with option number 1, that, he's gonna determine a size requirement, whether it needs a special exception in the M1 or M2, correct? Okay,
Okay.
all right. I
All
will do
right.
that. Once he has a draft available, I will get that sent out to you guys, and we will advertise for a public hearing. All right, so you're gonna look in the paper, you're gonna look on our website, on the commissioner's website. We will have it posted in our office. We will have it posted everywhere you can imagine. And you can always call me too and find out, you know, hey, do we have anything for this month? And I can let you know.
Okay, any other items for discussion tonight from the board? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting? Motion's been made, seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.